Hello guys, and welcome to a new WARNO video today by me, Vulcan. In this one I have for you an overview of Territorialkommando Süd, which is one of the latest divisions added to the game in the Messina update. Again, since the division has been out a little while, I'm just going to be going through the division that I've already made, go through what I think is good and bad, and maybe make some adjustments on the fly. So let's just get straight into it. The logistics tab is pretty simple. There's 4 units here. You got the man cats, which come with 3 trucks, gives you a total of 5,250 supply. Then there's the CH-53G, which gives you a total of 6,000 supply between 3 helicopters. There's the Iltis Führungs and the M577GA2. For my choices, I've got the Iltis Führungs because I like the availability in order to backcap sectors. Then I have the CH-53Gs because it's always good to have a helicopter with some supply so you can get it to the front line quickly if you need to. Also in this case they're really nice because it's 2,000 or 6,000 supply split into 3 helicopters, which means that you have a lot less to lose if one of these were to go down. Unfortunately on the pack side with the Mi-26, if you got it shot down you'd lose a lot of supply all at once. So it's kind of nice that it's split up. Also means that you don't have to pay for all of the supply all at once. You know, it's split up into 3 helicopters that cost 75 points each, which makes it a lot easier to use. Then there's the man cats. These are important because you're going to want to have a unit that can follow your infantry into cover or your tanks into cover and kind of repair, resupply, or rearm on the fly, pretty much. So there we go. I do think that potentially in this division I'm going to want a bit more supply, but maybe we'll come back to that. Moving into the infantry tab, things are actually quite cool in this infantry tab. There's some new units here. So we have the Pioneer Führer, has the Carl Gustav with the 2 MP2s. It's okay. Then we have the Reserve Pioneers. Currently, satchel charges are a bit trash at the moment. They'll probably get buffed again. But if these become strong like satchel charges, then I can actually see this unit being used quite a lot because it's 25 points, kind of throwaway infantry. Then there's Pioneers, which do use the satchels as well, that we've seen before. And then there's Pioneers with flamethrowers. And I actually have 2 cards of these because the Pioneers with flamethrowers on the NATO side have the Hand Flammetron. And this thing is actually really nice. It's got 20 round per minute rate of fire. It can really do a number on enemy infantry and force them to run around all over the place, allowing you to do tons of damage. It's really, really nice. So both of these squads I'm taking, you can get 2 cards of them. So I would say these are almost a must in this division. Then there's the Pioneer with the Armbrust, which is basically just a 10-man infantry squad with the Armbrust. And this is a pretty trash launcher, so I wouldn't really recommend bringing them. Then there's the Heimatschützen. I believe I have 1 card of these. Heimats are more numerous than Jaegers, but exactly the same in terms of stats. So Heimats, they have poor experience, but you get more of them on a card. And then Jaegers like 1 vet, 2 vet, but with like less on a card. So you get that extra availability because they have less experience. But overall, I think I should probably take out that Heimats card and replace it with the Jaeger, just because having a negative modifier in infantry is always bad. Unless you bring a leader with them, which I don't think in this division I can really afford to do much. But there's also the Citadungs, which are similar to the Heimats, they just don't have the MG or the Panzerfaust. As the Feldjäger, for a 4-man squad, 30 points is actually quite expensive, and I'm not even sure if these guys are that good at close range. I haven't really had much of a chance to try them, but maybe if you had a lot of them, they'd do alright, because having 70% accuracy on your SMG is actually really nice. Then there's the M40A1, which is the recoilless, and there's also the Milan 1. That you can get on a card as well if you like, if you want to spam a few more HGMs, but 17 penetration is not really going to do much to a heavy tank in the front armor, so you're going to be looking for side shots, or you can use it for taking out like light enemy armor, but 40% accuracy is not ideal. And then there's Green Berets. These are American troops. They have 4 M16s, 2 M249s, and the AT4. The AT4 is actually not a terrible AT weapon, so I am going to be bringing these in. Also, they come in at reasonably high vet with a cheap transport in the Humvee. So great sort of support unit for dealing with light armor, and then also, you know, reasonably good in combat, particularly if you had like a leader nearby. Get them to that 3 vet, that can be relatively good. And then there's the Jägerführer, which has the Carl Gustav. There's the Jäger, the standard Jäger squads, again similar to the Heimatschützen, just have the veterancy and less availability since they are ranked up a little bit. In my deck, I have them with the Unimog instead of the M13A1G. The A1G does have the MG3, and I believe the MG3 is actually pretty strong right now, so it's probably maybe worth bringing them in with it. But I do like having the Unimog just because it's faster on road. It's like 108 km per hour on road speed compared to the 79 km per hour. Speed is actually a reasonably big difference, particularly if you're using them at the start of the game. Then there's the Aeromobil Commander. Since they don't have any AT, not really that useful, honestly, but 6-man squad. And then there's the Aeromobils in the Super Pumas. Now these squads are actually pretty decent. I've taken them out and put them back in there because I did originally have them in at the higher veterancy, but I don't think that's necessary. The main thing that you want to do with these is make sure that you unload them out of range of AA, obviously. Like, well, I mean, it sounds obvious, but you want to keep the helicopters alive because the helicopter is half the price of the whole unit. So, and you can sell the transport, right? So what it allows you to do is basically bring in a bunch of these and then sell all the helicopters, and then that will kind of like pay for the next bunch you bring in. And if you like overlap it well, you can just like constantly have more and more of these coming in. And these are really, really strong units because of the Apalas. And the Apalas is a super nice launcher. It has 21 penetration with 885 meter range with 60% accuracy and 20 round per minute rate of fire. Super good launcher. Definitely worth having plenty of these in your deck. The only thing you have to manage is the economy with the Super Puma. And then there's the Milan 2. Which I do have as well. Again, you're going to have to manage the economy using the helicopters with these because you're forced to bring them in with the helicopters. But the Milan 2 HGM is super strong with 24 penetration. This is going to be starting to chunk some of those heavier tanks a little bit in the front armor, and in the side armor it's just going to pop things. So yeah, really nice HGM. 50% accuracy is, you know, hit or miss, but either way, decent HGM. And then I do have the card of the Green Beret leader. I think these are pretty good, honestly. I have them coming in with the M35. They do have flash launchers, which are the napalm launcher. So if enemy infantry gets too close to them, they can defend themselves very well, since they have the Colt Commando submachine gun, plus the M249s as well. Like 75% accuracy at close range is just super good. So yeah, these guys can chunk enemy infantry hard. Really, really self-sufficient, good self-sufficient leader squad, and high strength as well, which means that if it comes under fire, you can get them topped up again later down the line. Really nice command unit, that is. Artillery. I have currently the 2 cards of the 120 mils in here. Having smoke for your infantry and also just having general mortar support is pretty important for this division because you're reliant so heavily on infantry, and having smoke to move them across the open is really important. And also, you know, pinning down enemy squads or like lowering their cohesion with the mortars in the first place is also nice. I only have a couple of these 155 mils to kind of just harass enemy units, but I have found that they're not that effective because I don't have enough of them. So it makes me tempted to like move back to maybe the 105 so I can have at least 4 of them, but then you kind of lose out on some of the damage. So I'm not really sure if I like want this card at all. I could just take it out. I mean, I have dropped an infantry card here, and I've also dropped this here, which might allow me to bring in more supply so that I can keep the mortars firing. But yeah, I'm just not sure at the moment. I think maybe this card would actually be better, and having the 1-point infantry card here is pretty much a no-brainer, and I think I meant to add in the Jaegers again instead. I think I will try out the M13A1G. Right, so that's the artillery tab. The artillery tab is like just lackluster in general. Really not much to go on there. Then we have the tank tab. We got the P4 Milan. Pretty much a no-brainer. This thing, 35 points. You consider how much this costs. The HGM here, like the Milan 2 squad, is 75 points as an infantry squad. And on the back of a truck or a jeep, it's 35 points. It's pretty much like half price. And the stealth is good. So these can hide and pop things pretty nicely. Definitely worth having. And then I have a card of the M48 GA2s. These have 2,120 meter range, which is actually not too bad, with 15 penetration. Good for taking on enemy armored cars, basically. Not really going to do too well against anything heavier than it, though. As is the case with most tanks in WARNO. They just don't really do well firing up unless it's something with like low armor in particular, or you get side shots, pretty much. Then I have a card of the Cannon Jagdpanzers. These are actually kind of nice because they get 10 round per minute rate of fire and 13 penetration, which is, for 35 points, pretty decent, and therefore can pick off a lot of like light armor very quickly. And since they don't fire on the move, they don't really reveal themselves until they're in their position, which is, again, another kind of benefit. Whereas like with the M48, it has like a 5% stabilizer, so it ends up like randomly firing at stuff while it's moving and gives away its position, which you might, need to hold on to in order to like, or might want to keep concealed in order to like engage an enemy tank from an advantage. The M48 A2GA2 Führer is just overpriced for a leader. It really is. Then we have the Recon tab. Now the Recon tab is actually really interesting. You can get these Gazelle cannons, which are like just pretty cool recon helicopters. They're only slightly more expensive than like normal recon helicopters because they have the 30mm cannon. The 30mm cannon is not as good as I thought it would be. Like in Wargamer Dragon, the Gazelles with like the cannons are pretty good. Like really good, actually. But in this case, you need to have quite a few of them in order to actually start doing some decent damage to stuff. So yeah, this isn't as good as I would have hoped. But still a good aircraft to have hanging about. Then we have the card of the AMX-10 RCs. These are really nice. Super fast, like 108 km/h on road speed, 78 km or 72 km/h off-road speed. Like having a gun with 17 penetration, 2,295 meter range with 65% accuracy is super good. So fantastic flanking tanks, great for just demolishing like medium and light armor, since they can kind of like spot things preemptively for themselves. Really, really nice recon tank. Definitely make sure you bring those in. And then there's the Jaeger Aufklärer. Always been a pretty solid unit in WARNO so far. Just a standard 11-man squad with G3s and the MG3 and the Panzerfaust with the very good optics. So yeah, just a nice chunky recon unit. Then we have the Green Archer. This is an exceptional optic ground vehicle. It's very nice. I actually quite like this a lot. Just for make sure you turn off the MG3 so it doesn't reveal itself, and then you can just like put it in heavy cover somewhere to hide and provide you with recon information. I think it would be nice if the stealth was better, but yeah, overall gives you a lot of information if you put it in the right spot. Then I've got a second card of the Jaeger Aufklärer there. Other options, we have the standard Aufklärer, but it's just like a smaller Jaeger Aufklärer squad, so kind of pointless. There's the Gazelle without the 30 cal, or 30mm, sorry, and then the Fallschirmjäger B1s. Now these, I think, would be really good if the satchels were good, but satchels kind of suck at the moment. So for an 8-man squad at 65 points, I mean, maybe they're okay. I haven't really had a chance to try the MP5 SD, I guess. but maybe these will be good in the future. Moving on to the AA. AA is actually pretty cool. Here we have the 20mm. These are actually relatively good for taking on enemy infantry, as well as, you know, kind of spreading around to fire at enemy aircraft. But I think in general, like, the Bofors is better for that role, so I'm not sure if I'm going to keep them in the deck. Particularly for 3 points, it doesn't really seem worth it. The Bofors is okay. It fires like in salvos of like 3 or like 8, I guess maybe is like number of shots it fires, but it goes like boom 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 and then like reloads and then boom boom boom, and like I'm not sure if it like exactly how many it fires. Like, I can't really remember off the top of my head, but it does have quite a long like reload between its firing rate. But then again, generally it does seem to do a decent chunk of damage. So yeah, these have been hit and miss for me, but I do quite like them. I think they're okay, and they are interesting. I mean, like, again, these are interesting as well. They're like kind of fun to use. And then we have the Eyehawks. These look awesome. Like the Toad Eyehawk systems. They look absolutely awesome when they fire, and are pretty strong if they hit. So 9 HE is a strong missile. Again, I'm not sure if they're like able to crit and one-shot stuff, but if they are, definitely worth, but they're worth it anyway. 4,945 meter range against aircraft with the 50% accuracy. Obviously going to be affected by ECM, so do bear that in mind. But I got both cards of these, and then I've also got the FRP Ronin 3. All of these can be targeted by seed, or at least they will be able to eventually, so bear that in mind. But yeah, decent AA in general. The Ronin 2, I'm not sure if this, I mean, technically it is radar, so it would be able to be targeted by anti-radiation missiles, but I'm not sure. Anyway, moving on to the helicopter tab, we have the Gazelle Hot 2 and the Gazelle Hot and the Gazelle Cannon. That's pretty much your options. I do have the Gazelle Cannons. For 20 points, these are really good expendable helicopters, just for kind of like scouting for yourself, or like trying to engage enemy helicopters. If you get like a bunch of these, you can actually take down enemy helicopters, but as I mentioned before, the 30mm doesn't really work well on its own. You need like a bunch of them to like overwhelm an enemy aircraft or helicopter. So yeah, you end up spending like, I don't know, say 80 points on 4 of them. You use them to take down like enemy helicopters, enemy recon helicopters, stuff like that, just to be like harass the enemy with them. The Gazelle Hot is okay. It kind of, I don't know, like, it's a bit unreliable sometimes, and then like the Hot 2 is just better. Like, I don't know why you'd take the Hot when you can take the Hot 2, because it's got 65% accuracy and 24 pen compared to the 50% accuracy with 22 pen. This is just a better AT weapon, but I haven't really had much luck using these because the range, I kind of wish the range was a little bit longer, and because these only have 5 health, so they kind of get shot down pretty quick. That's the trouble with the Gazelles. Otherwise, the HGM is pretty nice. Then moving on to the air tab. My air tab's pretty full. I do have the F-104HE bombers, 1,386 km/h speed. These things actually don't even dive. They kind of like drop their bombs from a distance from above. So what you want to do is like obviously fire position where you want, or right click on the unit you want to attack, and then just make sure that you right click back towards your spawn so that they turn away from enemy AA, whichever way you want them to go. And therefore you can get quite good value out of these for 110 points a piece, and you can get up to 6 of them, which is pretty nice. And then there's the F4F AA, which is good at gun running enemy helicopters, and it's pretty effective at it with 30% ECM as well. Means it can kind of get away from enemy AA quite nicely. Just generally a good aircraft, like air-to-air aircraft. You can use it to catch out enemy aircraft, like enemy other planes, for example, or you can use it to gun run those helicopters. Then we have the Mirage 2000 2000C RDI. This thing is more what you'd use for engaging other planes, because it does have that longer range missile, the Super 530D SEMAC radar missile. So this is what you'd use generally for engaging other aircraft. Can engage enemy helicopters as well. Not going to be as effective because I don't think the main gun is as good as like the Vulcan in this case. But maybe it is. It's a dual 30mm, so I mean, I don't think I've ever really tried to use this against enemy helicopters though, because it's a little bit more expensive, and this thing tends to do the job. So there's that. Also has 30% ECM, has exceptional air optics, which is quite nice. And then we have the Mirage 5F cluster. These things are just useful for kind of suiciding for enemy heavy tanks. If you bump into like T-80Us, dropping the cluster onto those is always going to be a good idea. So that's what these are there for. It's the Mirage 5F, 190 points. Trade it for a heavy tank, which costs like 300, and you're on to a winner. Then there's other options here. We have the F4F AT, which comes with the Maverick missiles. 26 AP is quite lackluster, and the 3,180 meter range is quite bad as well. So this thing's going to be diving pretty hard for its target. With 40% accuracy, you might not even hit the mark, and then you get shot down. So for 205 points, it's quite unreliable. And yeah, I'm just not a fan of using these for RNG's sake. Then there's also the F4F HE2, which has 12 227 kilogram bombs. I'm not sure what the bomb pattern is with this, like whether or not it stays high or if it dives. But if it stays high, then this could actually be relatively useful. But its bombs are not that strong, so you're probably going to need to like get direct hits in order to actually do a lot of damage to stuff. This bomber probably going to be doing a bit better with the 5 450 kilogram bombs. So that's the one I would choose if you were going to take either of these. Both of them though have that nice 30% ECM. They also have the air-to-air missiles, so that's great. And then there's finally the F111F LGB2, which comes with 4 GBU-10 bombs. These are guided bombs. Currently, they're not really guided. They're kind of just like normal bombs. But I believe when they get fixed, they are going to probably be very, very good for taking out enemy armor, just due to overwhelming HE power. Yeah, you're going to just be blowing stuff up like crazy with 30% ECM. 30% ECM is just nice for keeping it alive. And when the bombs start actually guiding themselves, this will probably perform a lot better. It will drop its bombs maybe earlier, and you can kind of fly away as the bombs guide towards their targets. And there you go. So that is the entire deck. I'm probably just going to add some more supply in here. I think we're going to go for the supply trucks just because they're easier to move about. And maybe I'll adjust this more in the future, but for now I think it looks okay. We're just going to leave it there. The Territorialkommando Süd, another really fun division to play. I've actually been enjoying using them a lot with the like abundance of mortars to provide sort of fire support into the infantry engagements, and then smoking if they need to get across the open. The tanks are like quite lackluster, but the Cannon Jagdpanzer is pretty nice, and you've also got the AMX-10RC, which is really fun to use. The Gazelles are nice and fun to use as well, especially like the cheap Gazelle cannon. If you like swarm enemy helicopters with them, it's kind of fun. The AA is interesting with like the Bofors, for example. Dotting them around allows you to like really kind of shut down enemy helicopter play, because they'll definitely like end up stunning enemy helicopters at least. And you got some really good, interesting aircraft as well. So yeah, overall, actually quite a big fan of both of the new divisions that came up with the Mission update. It's just unfortunately they do really suffer against like the higher tier armored divisions, which is to be expected because they really don't have that many counters to them. But that's it. Yeah, that's Territorialkommando Süd. Gonna leave it there. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed the video. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.